How do we incorporate this into our lives? What does this mean for you and I? Well, that's what the Christian journey is about. That's what it means to be a Christ follower. That's my favorite part about being a Christ follower, is every day I get to find out more of what it means to be made in God's image. And the list is endless, and I could live the rest of my life trying to figure out exactly how many ways I could live into God's image. But here's just a quick, short list. What it means is that when God creates, we are also supposed to create. What it means is that when God loves, as God loves, we are meant to love. As God heals, we are meant to heal. As God stands up for justice, we are meant to stand up for justice. It means as God is kind, we are meant to be kind. As God is forgiving, we are meant to be forgiving. As God is sacrificial, we are meant to be sacrificial. As God is humble, we are meant to be humble. As God is gentle, we are meant to be gentle. Here's a book, if you are new to the faith, or even if you're not. This is such an amazing book about our faith, written by one of my favorite theologians, Gilbert Bilazakian, and it is Christianity 101. And it is a very easy exploration of each of these topics. But Gilbert says in this book about image of God, he says, in the Garden of Eden, humans were the crowning achievement of God's creative works. Think about that. The crowning achievement of God's creative works. All other created things supported their existence and made it secure. And the book of Genesis would go on to say that it is our job to take care of all those things. But that's a sermon for another day. So I just want to leave you with one point to think about today. What does it mean to be made in the image of God? It means that on our best days, that you can see a little bit of God in every one of us. And yes, even that guy in the checkout line. Since this COVID crisis began, pretty much every day I have taken a bike ride. Now, I am not one of the cyclists that you may know that has like foot pedals or wears this incredible chamois or like has like a Lance Armstrong yellow like Tour de France like vest. I frankly head out on my cycle in pretty much the way I'm dressed. But I just love to ride along the ocean here in San Francisco, the bay. And my favorite thing is to see how every day the ocean is a little different. Some days it's steely black, some days it's gray, some days it's white, some days it's blue. But what I've learned, and I'll head out in rain and hail and snow, hopefully not this week, but I have learned that when the ocean is totally glassy clear, like it was on one day in which I took this picture from my bike, looking into San Francisco from the peninsula, I noticed that the sky is reflected in the water. And I was thinking about that. You know, if we think of ourselves as the water and God as the sky, the quieter our waters are, the calmer, the more peaceful they are, the more we reflect the image of God. Now, you may be saying to yourself, thank you, I like that, but my life is not calm. My life is a perfect storm of all kinds of stuff, of messes, of dirtiness, of sin, of yuckiness. And I want you to know, me too. And we're going to talk about that next week. But on those rare occasions when we can find our lives as glassy as the ocean, we become the image of God, at least a tiny part of it. I want to end with this. A couple weeks ago, the second oldest woman on the face of the earth turned 117 years old. Her name is Sister Andre, and she has spent her entire life as a nun in France, in a monastery. She grew up as a little girl knowing who God was, and at 117, she's still going. They thought about putting 117 candles on the cake, but they kept having to call the fire department, and they decided it wasn't a good idea. Every year, she says, "This is my last year." And she's been saying that for the last 10 years. She had her favorite dessert on her 117th birthday, which was baked Alaska. I guess she must like fire and cake, but anyway, and champagne. And she said at that occasion, "You made me very, very, very happy. Très, 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 je. I don't think I said that correctly, but apologize to our French listeners. "Because I met all of those who I love, and I thank the heavens for giving them to me. I thank God for the trouble they went to." But here's what I want to do to end this message. I want to ask our incredible film crew and recording team here to pan in on this face of this woman who has been on the earth serving and worshiping God for 117 years. And I want you to look into her eyes and see how her hands are folded. And I want to ask if you can see a little bit of God in her being. You can be like that. When you live into God's image in your life, you can love like that. And that's what it means to be made by God.